What's going on, everybody? It's Ken Pozek, Chase Farmer. We are here to talk about the Orlando Reel, like what's going on, real estate, theme parks, life in Orlando. And we love to just kind of randomly go live throughout the week, talk about some news that we found, talk about some new places that we've tried. Usually I give a real estate update, which we will definitely do that because the market's all over the place right now. But what's going on, Chase Farmer?
What's going on, man? How you doing?
Dude, I'm doing well. We had our team meeting this morning. I feel like, it's kind of cool to see everybody all in one place. The fact that we're growing as fast as we're growing right now is kind of insane. It's just been a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was good catching up with everybody.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so let's talk about some stories, man. The first story we have today is Orlando was named one of the nerdiest or geekiest cities in America, which is kind of wild. It kind of makes sense though. Yeah. I mean, like Orlando.
Absolutely. I mean, that's like the whole reason I wanted to move here is because of all the things that would be considered nerdy or geeky, right?
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree. And what's going on by Marcelo? You made it to a live. Welcome, welcome. And if you are watching live, put down below where are you guys watching from, because so much of what Chase and I do when we put together content is like geared around where people are coming from. Are you relocating? Do you live here already? Do you want to live here? All of that kind of stuff is cool. Barry from Chesapeake Bay, what's going on? What's going on? Gunnar says, have I ever been to Portland, Oregon? Chase, have you?
I have.
Yeah.
I have. On a short little trip over to there. I used to live in Seattle, so we popped in for a short trip.
Yeah, I've got a lot of friends like that work for Nike up in Portland.
Really?
Yeah. L'Oreal says, hey, from Charleston, South Carolina, finally moving down in August. Thanks. Of course. Absolutely. Lake Nona just moved. What's going on? I love it. All right, cool. Let's keep talking about this as people are tuning in today. And even if you're watching the replay, make sure you let us know where you're down below. So Nerd Alert, Florida City. And so I started like, how do they actually talk about like, are we a nerdy city or not? I mean, obviously we have theme parks. It's pretty easy to see. But that's like actually not the only thing that they talked about. It was like, if you had fan clubs, cosplayers, collectors, and that's one of the things that they said, we've got conventions here. We've got so many things that make us kind of a nerdy city. I'll take it. I'm kind of okay with it, to be quite honest with you.
Same. I will as well. We're actually going to a little event this weekend. It's like a oddities convention. It's like a little pop-up, like a little like 30 vendors and stuff. And I feel like
nice.
that stuff's all over the place around here. It's just like those little
Totally.
pop-ups, a lot of local vendors that make a lot of nerdy stuff.
Yeah. What we need to do on the reel is kind of get into some of like have a whole section for some of these different events coming up, because I always notice it like on Instagram, people are there like, oh, there's a Comic-Con section or there's something that's going on at the convention center, and I'm like, I'm already booked this weekend. I can't get over there. But
yeah, we need to list it out because there's literally stuff happening. So much is happening to where you're not even able to do it all, even if you are free.
Even if you want to, which is another reason I love living in Orlando, dude, because it's like you're never for a lack of things to do.
No.
Like there's always something new to do. And somebody asked me the other day, like, don't you get tired of going to Disney and Universal? I'm like, not really, because there's like always a new ride, always a new refurbishment, always a new show, always a new like festival. Disney, Epcot, there's always something new going on.
The Halloween events, the Christmas events.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like there's always something that we can kind of dive into. So speaking of which, you had mentioned a story about Universal. Why don't you talk about it?
Yes. So the Mummy, the walls have finally came down on the Mummy. I've been waiting for them to reopen it. I still don't know what exactly all we got. I know we got a refurb. But I'm assuming some of the effects will be different. Maybe we'll see some updated stuff in there, and I just don't know what to expect, but I'm super excited. It is probably it's within my top 3 rides at Universal, not Islands. If we're just talking Universal, it's definitely up there.
No kidding. Yeah. I mean, that ride scares me even still. My daughter I took with me, wrong move. I didn't realize it was going to be that scary. And then she's every time we walk by it, she's like, yeah, we're not going in there. So
it's
Marcelo said that he worked on that. So
really,
you gotta let us know. Like, I don't know if you're allowed to say what's going on, what changed.
But yeah, like it's terrifying. The part at the end, whenever you're like, oh, the ride's over, and it's not over, and it like stops and the whole ceiling catches on fire.
But it's like, the effects are amazing because they're not just like, it's not 3D. It's not, I mean, it's literally the fire blazing over you, which is so cool. So Randy says closing next week in Serenoa Lakes over in Claremont. We're actually going to talk about that area later in the show about when we talk about real estate. But congrats for buying last year, because even though prices have sort of like flatlined a little bit, if you bought over the past 6 months or beyond, you did really well. So quite wild. Adil is watching from New York via Manchester, UK. What's going on?
Very cool.
All right, let's keep rolling on some real estate stuff. So I talked a little bit about I love digging into like the newness of Orlando, and there's so many new developments. And so the Growth Spotter had this thing out today. KB Homes and Hanover Land partnered to develop Cypress Bluff in Groveland. Why is this a big deal? Just because I continue to think that like this is Groveland out here, and this whole space out in like you've got Claremont, which my man just talked about in Serenoa. Claremont goes all the way up to here and then way out all the way down here, which is kind of wild. But this whole area, Mascati, Mineola, Claremont, Groveland, this is kind of like if you want something relatively affordable and you want new construction, this is an area that you should consider. The Lake County area is quite amazing in terms of just the lakes, and honestly, you get the preserves back down here. There's just plenty of protected land, which I think honestly from a long-term like investment standpoint, I think makes a lot of sense. Because if you're buying a house and you're surrounded by land that you could just keep building on forever, then you're just one of 20,000, right? But if you're in Claremont or some of these other areas that are surrounded by lakes, surrounded by preserves, like eventually that's going to get built out and you're going to become one of a very few, which I think is a good thing from a long-term perspective. But do you spend much time out that way?
I mean, Claremont, like we talked about last week, like that's where I would love to move out to.
Yeah.
And as you get further and further, there's just less and less people. And I love being close to Orlando, but not being in the middle of everything, right? So,
yeah,
I mean,
I totally agree.
I love that area.
Yeah. By the way, I wanted to see real quick if you guys have any comments or questions as we're talking through these. We've got a few more stories to talk about, but I love coming on here, answering your questions, making sure that your guys get stuff get answered as well and along the way. So let's talk a little bit more about real estate, and then we're going to get into some places that you checked out this week. So one of the things many people ask is like, what's going on with the real estate market? Are we going to bubble? Are we in a crash? Like what's going on? And I don't have a crystal ball, but what I do know is that there's still plenty of people reaching out to buy houses. But let's back this up with data, because even if you're not a big data nerd, this stuff matters. And so this is something that the Orlando Realtor Association puts out on a weekly basis, which is really just great data. But here's the kind of thing, what's going on with the real estate market. If you look at the single family homes, between 250 and 400, those things are still selling over 100%. Right. So is that a crash, Chase Farmer?
No, it is not.
So if you look at some of the higher price stuff, like 450 to 500, 99.5%, 500 to a million, 99.69%. And then over a million is really where you're seeing the biggest squeeze, selling for 93.85%. Average days on market is still just 3 weeks, which, man, a month or two ago, it was like 2 days. So I'm happy for 20 days. It like gives everybody a chance to collectively breathe. You don't have to go crazy on, over appraisals and just nuts that we used to have to do.
Yeah.
So I'm okay. As long as this doesn't get to like 180 days, that's when like the market starts crashing and we do have issues, but something to pay attention to. And so we've been hovering right around those like that 15 to 25 days on market on average for the past month. So I think that's pretty good.
Yeah.
All right. So Nicholas asks, what are some best communities for millennial young professionals in Orlando? What do you think, man?
College Park.
College Park's a great one. I get a lot of young professionals that either work downtown or work at the parks that want to live closer to downtown Orlando, but they don't want live in a high rise condo building or something. They want one of those like older kind of vibes. So you're right. Yeah. College Park. Where else?
I think areas in Winter Garden, 100%. I mean, I love that area and there's so much to do. And if you get a house that's really close to everything, I mean, it could be potentially walkable to certain things.
Yeah.
Just everything up there in that top right area, like very close to where I am. I feel like there's just so much to do and it's all packed in.
Yep. Yeah, I've got a lot of professionals of all ages that choose obviously Baldwin Park's downtown, Thornton Park. There's so many cool little spots downtown, the Soto area, Delaney Park. Yeah, there's really cool places downtown that lend themselves to all those types of stuff. But I don't know. I think the cool thing about Orlando is it's like this big melting pot, and I don't know that we have like one area that's like, oh, all of these people go here. But College Park's a good call, man, for sure. Adam has a question. With condos, do you have a condo fee then an HOA fee? If so, would a townhouse be similar size a better option to buy for short-term rentals? Good question, Adam. So I think that when you're looking at cash flow, as an investment, you're always looking at all the fees that you potentially need to pay, not just including like you've got management fees and you've got taxes and all these other things. So you're absolutely right. Condos will have the HOA fee. Sometimes they'll have the building fee, and then they'll have the condo fee. So yeah, condos are typically a bit more expensive. Townhomes are going to give you a little bit better of a return. Single families where it's at, if you can afford it though. That way you're not having to pay all of those additional fees. Even if you have to bump it up and you're putting that same difference of condo fee and HOA fee towards a bigger payment, at least you're paying down an asset, whereas HOAs and condo fees are essentially gone out the window once they're gone. So right on. Where's the best reasonable buy for Airbnb as an investment? I think, Davenport's still really rather reasonable. Just make sure you get as close to the parks as possible. Davenport's huge. Haines City's huge. As close as you can. I would say 30 minutes or less of a drive is going to give you the best return on an Airbnb. All right, let's talk a little bit more. We'll keep asking you some questions, but I want to banter a little bit with Chase here. So you went to a couple places to eat for the Orlando Reel this week. Talk about the first one.
Yeah, so let's talk 7 Bites first. So we went on Sunday. We saw it. I was just looking for, I do this all the time. We're just like looking constantly for local spots, and I feel like there's just a wealth of them in the area.
Yeah.
It's like a breakfast place. They had some lunch options as well.
This is like in the Milk District, yeah? Or close to it?
Yes,
yeah.
It is in the Milk District, yeah.
Yep.
And we saw that it had been on like Diners, Drive-ins, and Dives. There you go. So we were like, whatever, we'll give it a try. There was a line out the door. We had to wait a minute for it. But whenever we got inside, I mean, it was good. I had it was like a waffle spicy chicken sandwich thing. There was like fried chicken in the middle, had some egg on it, waffles on both sides with some syrup on it. The best thing to me was the grits. I love grits so much. And it was like this garlicky grits. It had a lot of garlic in it. So if you're not a big garlic person, then maybe not. But I loved it. I like a good like creamy, cheesy, buttery grits. But it was different, Did
you try any of the desserts? I just realized they have desserts.
I didn't. Yeah,
for breakfast it might be a little aggressive, right?
It was just so busy in there, honestly. Like.
Yeah. When we went, it was like, line out the door. It took like 30 minutes to get inside, which if it's hot out, not ideal, but like. It was good. I think for like an independent, she does amazing. Trina, who owns it, she actually used to be as a real estate agent in our old office, which is funny, but she pivoted to this and obviously is doing really well. So that's super cool. So, all right, Milk District. What was the other place you went?
Well, let me just talk about the Milk District a little bit more, because if you've never been to Milk House, I love Milk House so much. Milk House is it's like a little bar restaurant. They have a few food options. I believe they even have like a little pop-up Kelly's inside. It's like a small one.
Kelly's ice cream.
I think it's Kelly's. It's either Kelly's ice cream or some other local ice cream spot. But the drinks in there, it is Kelly's. Yeah. So it's like Foxtail, Kelly's, Ravenous Pig, and then the kitchen, the restaurant. I can't say it right. But yeah, they have great food in there. It's like last week whenever I was, what was it?
Oh my God, that looks amazing. Modern Italian bar food.
Dude, I've had 2 of their burgers 2 different times. We've been there like 3 or 4 times now. And their drinks are also super good. Chelsea loves, they have like this coffee espresso martini thing. Yeah. That's super good. But I love that restaurant. It's like my favorite spot. It's right next to MX Taco.
Nice. Okay.
It's literally right next to it.
Love it. And then you went somewhere else. Where's this other place?
Black Bean Deli. We went to Black Bean Deli. They have 2 locations. It's Cuban food. I always get just a traditional Cuban. You can get it with like rice, beans, plantains. They have like a green salad, and it's all very fresh, super good. And it's easy, right? Like I feel like a lot of the times we go to these places that are like, hey, here's this really spicy food. Here is something that is like over the top. Here's something that's super cheesy, very bad for you. I feel like Black Bean Deli has a lot of like cleaner options, and it's all very fresh, tasty.
Love it. Yeah, super cool. Where's on the list for this week? What do you got going on after that?
This week right now, I haven't even thought about what I'm doing tomorrow. I don't even know where I'm going. I feel like I just wake up on Wednesday and then we just kind of hit it, right? I want to go to, we did an article on it a while back, but I think it's Marketplace. Isn't that, that's a It's like a food hall.
Over in Avalon Park.
Yes.
Yes, I think you should check that out. It's a good vibe. I haven't tried any of the literally any of the food in there. I've been in there a bunch of times, but just to show people around as they're buying in the area. Let's answer a couple more questions, and then we got like one more story we're gonna wrap up. So you plan to retire in Orlando in a few years. However, your mortgage is almost paid off. Should I go ahead and find a property now that you can rent? What's my advice? So I think that obviously everybody's financial piece is different. Do I think the market's going to go up? I actually do think that over the next 2 years, the market still sees a 3 to 5% appreciation. I don't think that we're going to see a crash, especially with all the market forecasts that we've seen. And that being said, if you want to buy something, lock in now, have somebody else start paying it off. I don't think that's a bad thing. And so if you got like a HELOC on your current house to put down on the next house, definitely something you could do. But yeah, I'm a big fan of investment properties in general. And so if you have somebody else paying it off for you, like that's not a bad thing. Just keep in mind, like depending on where you buy it, a lot of people reach out. They want to do a short-term rental where they're able to like rent it out by the night, by the week, by the month, and then use it a couple months out of the year. Well, not every area in Orlando allows that. So make sure to reach out. We can help you out. Another Adam says he's moving to Orlando from Burbank. What's a cool walkable town that you feel is on the come up? Oof, man, walkable is such a weird thing in Orlando, I feel like, because we're very car dependent here. There's plenty of areas that like if you live within the downtown areas that you can definitely walk easily, right? Like where Chase was just talking about Avalon Park. If you would live in Avalon Park, you can easily walk to the downtown area, enjoy the marketplace, super easy.
Baldwin Park is another great one. I feel like
Baldwin Park,
all the way down that straight, there's so many restaurants and stuff. It's very easy.
So easy. Winter Garden, like downtown Winter Garden. Now, Winter Garden's huge, right? Like, but the downtown corridor, if you live in that 10 block area, you can actually have a golf cart and then golf cart to the Plant Street Market or anywhere else. Those are kind of cool. So there's plenty of those around, just depending on what you're after. But like in terms of like when I think walkable, man, I think Chicago, I think New York. I feel like it's just everybody has to walk, and so everything's really convenient. Orlando's kind of spread out.
It's very spread out.
Yeah. All right. Devar says, am I familiar with Pulte Home Builder, looking for a home builder like Toll Brothers that won't try ripping people off? Man, that's a tough one in terms of like won't try to rip people off. So I'm very familiar with Pulte. I think they build a good product overall, especially their actual Pulte brand. So they have like a lower brand, I think it's called Centex, which is kind of like the value builder, right? And I've had people reach out and say like, oh, the flooring was cheaper than I expected, or the cabinets were cheaper than I expected, or whatever. But like, you definitely get what you pay for. So the fact that Ashton Woods and Toll Brothers and some of the other ones are more expensive, well, you get what you pay for sure. And I think Pulte's overall a good brand. They also have Del Webb. So if you're in the 55 and older plus world, active adult world, they actually do a very good product, and their amenity centers are really, really good. So here's this one. Chase, you should check out 24 hour.
100% it's on the list. I've seen it. I mean, it's like all over reels or stuff. Have you ever seen it?
No, I haven't.
It's black and white. Everything's almost like if you take the right photo from the right angle, it looks like a comic book.
Yeah, everything's like kind of 2D. Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's very close to our old office. So I need to go over there and check that one out too.
No, I'll definitely check it out. Andre Lima says, from New Zealand, what's going on? I need to check out New Zealand, Chase. I feel like that's a place I need to go.
Yeah.
So I've got 25 years experience in property repairs and maintenance. Do I think that I'll be okay there with work? Yes. I'm chuckling because like we need more good people like you, people that are the trades right now. If you are in Florida, Orlando for sure, but if you're in the trades and you have good work ethic, meaning you show up on time, you bid out something and you actually show up to do the work, like you are going to do very well. I don't like even some of our best vendors sadly have fallen away because they got so busy that they just ghost people because just the market we're in. So I feel like there's lots of opportunity for tradespeople here.
Yeah.
Farmer George, not a fan of the Cuban food. I've not been, so different strokes, Farmer George.
Different folks.
Todd says, any specific considerations for vacation snowbird property, single family condo, townhouse, any area considerations? Well, Todd, that's a very loaded question in regards to the areas, because some people want the lakes, some people want close to Disney, that kind of thing. But if you're looking, I always look at the vacation snowbirds as like finding a safer area, And then also like lock and go, I think is great. So the townhouse condo lifestyle is pretty appealing. And yet, depending on your price point, if you're in the upper price points, there's plenty of companies that will come by, check on your house. And there's plenty of like cameras and alarms and all kinds of stuff you could add on. But if you're in that ilk of being able to afford somebody, there's like Total Care is a big company here. They work in a lot of the higher end neighborhoods, Celebration, Golden Oak, places in Windermere, that they'll come by, take out your trash for you. They'll check on your house, make sure the trees haven't fallen over during a storm. That's a very common thing in Orlando. Man, we had a lot of questions pop through all of a sudden. I want to make sure I get some of this. One of the last things I'll do before we kind of wrap up, and I will try to ask at least one more question. But one of the market, this is my favorite thing. We talked a little bit about the real estate market, where things are going, but I think this is really quite telling. New listings, we do this every week, and it's been around that 1,000 to 1,100, and this is in a 7-day period. 1,100 new listings in 5 counties, which is about healthy for this time of year. But one of the massive things that I noticed here was that price decrease, dude. So we haven't seen that high of price decreases in a long time. But when you
what was last week? Was it around 7 or 8?
Yeah, it was like 700.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's more price decreases hitting. Interestingly enough, though, back on market is actually starting to drop. And I think part of that is because we have less appraisal issues because the market's not going up 2% a month anymore, which was unhealthy. So I think that's interesting. Pendings. So here's the deal. Like you look at solds versus new listings, you want those numbers to be as close to each other as possible. So the fact that there's less solds than new listings would be concerning if pendings also followed that. So to make that super, super simple, pendings are the stuff that's accepted a contract but just hasn't closed yet. So the fact that pendings are actually trending up would lend itself to believe that like the market is like balanced. It's finding that balance. I used a thing this morning when we were at our team meeting. I was like, remember when gas went from like $3 to $5? Everybody was like, whoa, like I'm not going to take that extra trip. I'm going to really think about it before I go to Target and back. Like I'm going to try to make this all work for me because I don't want to spend an extra couple $100s a month on gas, right? I think we definitely are seeing that in the real estate market as well. We went from 3%, a year and a half ago to in the high 5s, 6% on mortgages right now. And people are just kind of like taking a pause, like, whoa, wait a minute. This kind of like is more expensive than I anticipated. And then now we're starting to see people say, okay, I'm used to it. It feels like this is going to be okay. I'm getting back into the market. So we definitely saw a bit of a reprieve to the market, which I've been talking about for the past month. I'm excited about. I think it's healthy. What else do you think, man?
Well, you want me to plug some stuff?
Yeah. Plug the Orlando Reel. How can people follow us?
So if you haven't signed up for our newsletter yet, we send that out once, sometimes twice a week. You can do that on the website. That's theorlandoreel.com. And then from there, you can either click on our Instagram from there and you can follow us on Instagram. But we're the Orlando Reel on Instagram and also on TikTok. So we post the same Reels or TikToks on both platforms. And you can check it out. We post stuff every day, every weekday. So not on the weekends, but we do articles every day and Reels every day, just about different stuff happening in Orlando.
Right on. Jeremy says, Chase, I think someone to try you and me revolving hot pot to see if the hype is real. Have you heard of this?
I have not. I know what the hot pot stuff is.
Yeah.
But is it where you cook it at the table?
I don't know. I went to some Japanese place with some friends the other night, and you had, it was kind of like the melting pot where they cook it in front of you. It was very good. It was actually right next to our office and our old office in Dr. Phillips. I would go again for sure. Hey, Howdy Hey says maintenance is terrible. Took an electrician 3 days to install 2 fans. Looking to move my company to Orlando. Dude, I appreciate that sentiment because I hear what you just said every single day. Dude, you had your AC go out, and how many days did it take for the AC people to fix?
Do not tell me. It was a nightmare. It took over like they like haggled me for a while because they were like, oh, it's just old, we'll clean it and it'll work better. That didn't work. So I dealt with a garbage AC for probably 6 months, and then once it got hot, then they had to replace it, and my AC was out for almost a full 7 days. So we had to leave, we had to pack up everything and go, and it sucked.
Yeah, no, thank you. So I'm going to answer a couple more questions before we bounce. So here's one. So Tara asks, they're from Arizona, trying to relocate, looking in August, and they want to know whether to rent or buy. So this is a question that there's two questions I would ask you. Number one, do you plan on being here long term? One, like, is this something that you just want to try out and for a season and then maybe move back to Arizona? Like, if you're all in and you want to move to Orlando, you already know Disney's your end game. Your work is moving here. You just want to be in Florida because of the beaches, whatever it might be, then you buy right now. If you're not really sure, then I would take a trip out and go visit some of the different areas, get comfortable with the areas, maybe rent for a minute and then jump in. Right. And so that's what I would do. I tell people, if you're looking at that 3, 5, 7 year horizon, you buy. If you're kind of toe in, toe out, you're in.
No, I mean, my opinion would be, I've been here, almost 3 years now. I feel like, I grew up north of here about 2.5 hours. So I didn't really know the area. I wish that I would have taken a trip down here and bought then. I know that, like, in hindsight, right, I know it would be worth so much more money at this point and it would be great. But, just in general, I mean, the rental market here is just so high right now. And, you can just invest in something that's going to pay you back later.
Makes sense to me. Yeah, especially in this whole market. There's certain spots in the country where they're a little bit more susceptible to a downturn and/or lack of rentals or any of that kind of stuff, or more rentals than they need. Orlando's just not one of those places as of yet. Like we still talk about so many people moving here, not enough places to even rent versus buy. So it's an interesting thing. But again, like if your horizon short, like Chase, if you called and said, "Hey, Ken, I want to move here for a year just to try it out," you rent, dude. Like, don't try to get in and out.
Of course, absolutely.
But if you're
thinking, like, if you're going to be here for at least 5 years, I mean, like, realistically, like, if you're going to invest that money into the area, you're talking about, over $100,000, probably close to $100,000 at least in renting if you're going to pay for 5 years, depending. So
yeah, and rents are not in Orlando, again, not slowing down. Sean, one of my running buddies, he says, "I'm paying an arm and a leg rent in Horizon West. I noticed there's at least 3 new buildings coming soon. Do I think that this will help with apartment costs currently?" Yeah, I mean, the more inventory, the better. Same thing with housing, right? The more inventory, the faster prices stop appreciating or flat market. And so, kind of wild.
I don't remember the stat, but I think either you found it or I found it about the rental market. And just like, I think that, like, Orlando as a whole was like 90 something percent, like 98% booked, like the market for rentals.
Yeah. The wild thing. So there was a new place, the Yard. You remember, like, in Ivanhoe Village downtown? I was talking to the rental management company there, and she said that the day they went live, they had a list of 500 applicants, and they rented out the entire building, which was like 300 or 400 units in a month. It was like that. And so that's kind of where our demand's at. But all right, guys, I think we're going to wrap up for today. That's about our time. But make sure you give us a thumbs up. If you made it this far in the video, you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, make sure you do. So we're going to put out new content every single week, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks, Chase.
Absolutely. Thanks, everybody.